Chapter 9. For as touching the ministering to the saints, it is superfluous for me to write to you. For I know the forwardness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal hath provoked very many. Yet have I sent the brethren, lest our boasting of you should be in vain on this behalf, that as I said, ye may be ready. Lest haply, if they of Macedonia come with me, and find you unprepared, we, that we say not ye, should be ashamed in this same confident boasting. Therefore I thought it necessary to exhort the brethren that they would go before unto you, and make up beforehand your bounty, whereof ye had noticed before, that the same might be ready, as a matter of bounty, and not as of covetousness. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Every man according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that ye, always having all sufficiency in all things, may abound to every good work. As it is written, he hath dispersed abroad, he hath given to the poor, his righteousness remaineth forever. Now he that ministereth seed to the sower, both minister bread to your food, and multiply your seed sown, and increase the fruits of your righteousness, being enriched in everything to be to all bountifulness, which causeth through us thanksgiving to God. For the administration of this service not only supplieth the want of the saints, but is abundant also by many thanksgivings unto God. Whilst by the experiment of this ministration they glorify God for your professed subjection unto the gospel of Christ, and for your liberal distribution unto them and unto all men. And by their prayers for you, which long after you for the exceeding grace of God in you. Thanks be unto God for his unspeakable gift. Here in chapter 9, Paul is teaching them about the blessings of giving, and he makes several very, very, very good points here for them and to us. Verse 1, for as touching the ministering to the saints, so the ministering to the saints is helping other members of the church. In this particular case, he's talking about the people in Jerusalem who were being hard-pressed by the Jews and the others who were in control of that area. And he says in verse 2, for I know the forwardness of your mind, for which I boast of you to them of Macedonia, that Achaia was ready a year ago, and your zeal hath provoked very many, knowing that the eagerness of the people in Corinth to do some of the good works that they'd been encouraged to do had sort of inspired Macedonia and Achaia, basically to be more generous maybe than they might have been. Verse 3, yet have I sent the brethren, so I already sent the other brethren who are traveling with me, lest the boasting that I made of you should be in vain in this behalf, that, as I said, you may be ready. When it was going to be time for Paul to come and then to pick up whatever their donation would be to take to Jerusalem, he wanted them to have had plenty of time to give what they wanted to give. Therefore, verse 4, lest haply, and that doesn't mean lest happily, it means lest by chance, if the people from Macedonia, some people from Macedonia should come with me and find you unprepared, we should be ashamed in this confident boasting. In other words, we'd be embarrassed because we told them how wonderful and generous you were, but if we didn't give you prior notice of that, and these people from Macedonia came and you didn't know that we were coming, you might not be ready. Verse 5, therefore I thought it necessary to exhort the brethren, to encourage the brethren, that they would go before you, before I came unto you, and make up beforehand, collect your bounty, wherever your donations were going to be, so that you had noticed that everything might be ready as a matter of your generosity and not as a matter of covetousness. In other words, not so that when you knew what the other people had done, you actually donated something because you felt pressure, but because you wanted to. That was what the bounty was. The bounty was the generosity. But this I say, so he's understanding something here. This is the lesson that the Lord was trying to tell the Jews before they even settled in the promised land. That he could modify the weather for them, that he could bless them in so many ways, that every 6th year they could actually grow enough food to live for the 6th year, the 7th year, and the 8th year, because the 7th year would be a year of rest for the land. And so the harvest that they got at the 6th year would not only finish all of the 6th year, but all of the 7th and all of the 8th year until they got a crop in the 8th year. That was one thing the Lord promised Israel, and they never got because they never learned this lesson. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap sparingly. Those who sow eternal blessings, eternal efforts sparingly, shall also reap eternal blessings sparingly. And he which soweth bountifully and generously and spends his time helping other people will reap eternal blessings, very generously given. Every man, verse 7, as he purposeth in his heart. In other words, as you would like to give, brethren, since I'm giving you this advance notice, as you would like to give, you now have time to put it together. So you can give whatever you like, not grudgingly, not because somebody's coming and saying, oh, the saints from such and such have put together and we need to show them that we can do this or we can do better than them or whatever, but because you want to. That's what the necessity means, or of necessity. Not because you have to, not because you'll be shown up if you don't. For God loveth a cheerful giver. You know, if God's going to share everything he has with you, what objection do you have of sharing the little you've got with him? That's really what it all boils down to. What you've got is so little compared to what he's got. If he's going to give you a share of everything he's got, what have you got that's worth anything to give? I mean, everything you've got he already has anyway. You're not giving him anything but his own. Don't be cheap with it. If he's going to give it back to you and an abundance on top of that, how brilliant is it to withhold stuff? Verse 10, now he that ministereth seed to the sower, both minister bread for your food and multiply your seed sown. The point is, if you have somebody who gives the seed to the person who sows the grain that your bread is going to be made out of, if the person who makes that seed can make that seed really give 100 times more than you sow, would you want somebody who does that? If you could control that and by picking certain seed out, pick seed out that would give you 30 times more than you sowed or 100 times more than you sowed, which would you pick? Most people would pick the stuff that's 100, because if you're going to do all the work to prepare the ground and sow it anyway, you might as well get the biggest yield out of it. Well, your life is like that field that you plow. You plow it with determination and choice and making decisions. You put the seed of the Lord, the Spirit, in there. And you can decide whether or not you're going to give back to the Lord 30 times more or 60 times more or 100 times more. And if you give him back everything you possibly can, he is going to give you back everything he can. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather have a small percentage of everything God could give me than everything I could possibly arrange for myself to get.